Hi everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about sensory integration, and we're also going to be talking about college students or how that affects people when they're in college. My name is Arthur, but no, um,
My
Melanie.
name is Fawn. Oh, my bad.
I'm Melanie.
I'm Stella.
I don't know how to.
Oh, you can just click. You should.
Oh,
Okay. So this is a short video from a person on the spectrum on how sounds are affecting them. This is a good sample of sensory integration. Yeah.
oh. How do you?
You press.
Oh, gotcha.
So this is sensory integration definition, the processing, integration, and organization of sensory information from the body and the environment. Due to sensory sensitivities, someone with autism might display sensory seeking behaviors like sniffing objects, staring intently at moving objects. They might also display sensory avoidance behaviors such as evasion of certain everyday sounds and textures, hair dryers, clothing tags, vacuum cleaners, and even things like sand. They also might display self-stimulatory behaviors like tapping their temples, flapping their hands, and bouncing on their toes. To be intensely engaged with a favorite sensation or activity, they may not detect danger at all. Autistic people may have difficulty processing everyday senses like visual, smell, taste, balance, vestibular, auditory, tactile, and proprioception. There is terminology. Hypersensitivity means oversensitive to sensory input. Hyposensitivity means undersensitive to sensory input. Sensory overload is when autistic people become overwhelmed by certain sensory input in their environment. And stimming are behaviors autistic people engage in to help regulate their sensory environment.
So here are some examples of sensory issues that autistic people may experience. On the vertical column, we have like some of the senses listed, and at the top have separate like hypersensitivity versus hyposensitivity. So just for example, for sight, people who may be hypersensitive to sight might have distorted vision. Maybe like objects and bright lights can appear to jump around for them. For hyposensitivity, people might experience poor depth perception and have difficulties with learning and catching objects, clumsiness. And these are like a few other senses, like for touch, some hypersensitivity, maybe someone disliking being physically touched by another person. It might be like an uncomfortable or painful sensation for them. And if they're hypersensitive, they might want to hold others tightly, and they might want to be held tightly. And so for some examples of stimming, so stimming, as mentioned before, are behaviors that autistic people engage in to help them better regulate their sensory environment or their emotions. Stimming can be calming and help autistic people focus. Some people might spend a lot of time stimming while others less frequently, and this can depend on the environment or maybe also on their emotion or state of mind. Some autistic people might stim when they're particularly stressed out or anxious, or they might also stim when they're happy and excited. Some examples are like hand and finger movements, rocking the body back and forth, like holding hands or fingers out an angle, visual stimulation, like looking at something sideways, repetitive behavior like opening and closing doors or flicking switches, chewing or mouthing objects, or listening to the same song and noise over and over again.
So seeing that we're all here in college, we decided to talk about sensory integration in a college setting. So for some examples of how to advocate for autistic people with hypersensitivity in college setting is, for example, if they're hypersensitive to audio, so check volume before playing audio to ensure that it doesn't blast loudly. Visual hypersensitivity, so avoid buzzing and flickering fluorescent lights. And in a class, reducing clutters on PowerPoints. Touch hypersensitivity, so just understand the people's reaction to injuries. Some may think that they're overreacting, but they simply just may feel the pain more intensely than others. So some examples of how to advocate for autistic people with hyposensitivity in a college setting. So for example, making notes digital so students can have a computer read aloud if they need it. Professors can give permission to record audio of lectures. And auditory hypersensitivity, for those who can't process auditory information, writing instructions and reminders on a board or just written down and downloading any class notes in the case they didn't hear everything. And we took this from a perspective of like a teacher or professor. Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of professor and causing those with sensory integration issues, they can always reassure the students that their needs are not a big deal and that they're happy to accommodate those students and good people. Neither than good students to come to them if they have anything else they may need. And they try to them coming to you as a professor or complimenting their assertiveness. And then a student with sensory integration, and youth may need to regular visit to help them manage sensory input as one as they are disrupting the class like this is fine. Professors should assume they're listening even if they're not making eye contact and act like nothing is different if they are being disruptive. And professors should let the student know, knowing they can switch to a quiet way to further like up feedback. Okay, and we can move on to the next slide.
Oh, it's a bit blurry.
And I found this really interesting program that I think Ari was a part of called the Autism Campus Inclusion Program that is done by ASAN. with Dan, and so it helps people, students with autism, develop their advocacy skills and create a community of autistic. So we're going to show a short clip from the video.
It's a 5-minute video, but we wanted to show a portion of it. I don't remember where it's supposed to start.
I like 225.
I got to learn about autistic identity, self-worth, and disability justice as the only minimum
Wait, where was it at?
advocacy network each summer is an incredible experience for any participant. Along with 18 other college-going students from across North America, I got to learn about autistic identity, self-worth, and disability justice. As the only minimally speaking autistic in the group, I was exposed to a range of autistic views, which expanded my thinking on autism itself during just the course of a week.
It's an opportunity to not only learn about what I can specifically do on my college campus to make it a better place for people with disabilities and autistic people, but it's also a place where I can network with a whole bunch of people who have the same passions as me and people who are a lot like me too, since it's all autistic people.
I think my favorite part of the program where I meet the fabulous disability rights advocate. I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I see them in person. I was so excited. And I'm happy that they fight for our community, fight for our rights, and I'm happy for that.
ACI means Autistic Community and Autistic Space. It is a space where we don't have to mask or hide our stimming. It is a space where we can discuss our goals for advocacy and our frustrations. It is what I really hope the future can look like, for others not to only just accept us, but to appreciate us as well.
Before ACI, I wasn't aware of how powerful our stories were in terms of influencing social change. But after ACI, I really realized a deeper understanding of how these stories could influence policy. And that's incredibly empowering, and it still sticks with me today.
Disability justice, though, boils down to a world of interdependence rather than independence. It left me thinking that rather than demanding a seat at the table, our task could well be to redefine the table itself.
It kind of hit me, to be included, to include everybody in the space like that. And for me, I want to include everybody and learn how to be accessible and accessible to everybody need and make sure they feel included, things like that.
You learn.
Yeah, so this is a really cool program. I participated in something similar when I was a younger college student, so this is really awesome, and I totally believe in policy advocacy as well. You can go on to the next slide. And so these are some resources we use. And thank you for listening to it.
I've actually never seen a student presentation on censor.
Yeah, this is my first time too.
Yeah, this was really cool. Do you have any questions before?
I really like how you guys included the advocacy and accommodation part, because I feel like a lot of the time we learn about all these things and we're like, and then what,
Yeah.
So Mario typed something and it got deleted. Something got pressed, but what he said was amazing, and he, it covered a lot of things, and he appreciated the something advocacy.
Okay, thank you.
I don't remember the word.
That's okay.
Great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.